Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Welcome to a very chill and relaxed sit-down video, though all my videos are kind of like chill and relaxed sit-down videos. But today I will be telling you all about the books I read in June. It is currently the 30th of June, so the last day. But okay, let's get right into it because I have a ton of books to cover because I read 11 books this month and I'm actually currently already reading the 12th. But I guess I will be talking about that in July's reading wrap up because I will definitely be reading the majority of that book in July. Anyway, let's jump right into it. It is kind of crazy looking at especially the first 6 books I read this month because I barely have any recollection of even reading them or like reading them feels like it was a couple of months ago, not at the beginning of this month. Plus, I have been reading a ton this month, so a lot of other content has overwritten the memory of reading these books I read at the beginning of the month. But I will still try to say something about these books, even if I do not even remember them that well anymore. So I started off this month with Something Wilder by Christina Lauren. This is a romance novel, which you know me, that's you don't see that a lot on my channel, that genre. But I picked this up because I heard Hayley Pham talking about it in one of her booktube videos, and she described this as, yes, a romance novel, but it has a treasure hunting twist to it, so to say. And that's exactly what this book really is. I would say it's maybe 50-50 romance and treasure hunting. And if you know me and my taste, I love anything that has to do with treasure hunting, mystery solving, all of that good jazz. I love it. So I decided to pick this one up and I was actually not disappointed. I really enjoyed this book. Maybe like is a bit of a strong word, but I was thoroughly okay with the two main protagonists, so like the boy and a girl basically, and also like learning about their background story. This is basically a childhood lovers reconnecting after years of not being in contact with one another and first being enemies. Again, is too strong a term, but first they are really awkward and they do not like the fact that they have to, well, work together again. But then, of course, old feelings rekindle and all of that happens. But because I was okay with the two main characters, I was okay with the romance part of the book as well. But I also enjoyed the treasure hunting vibe because basically the father of our main girl, her name is Lily. He used to be this kind of like real life Indiana Jones person. Like he was this famous treasure hunter. Everyone in the community at least knew of him. And he's dead, but he left her a legacy, and then there's like this big treasure they're hunting because blah blah blah. I mean, you can kind of guess the storyline, I guess. But as I just said, I actually did have a good time reading this. It might just be one of my favorite romance novels I have read in a really long time because, for example, one of the other ones I read a couple of weeks or months ago was The People We Meet on Vacation, but that, for example, I didn't like at all because I connected to neither of the two characters, like to neither Alex nor Poppy. I didn't like either of them, so therefore I was obviously also not interested in their story, in whether they would come back together or like get together in the first place. I wasn't interested in it because I didn't like them. Whereas here, I was okay with the two characters, so I did enjoy seeing them do their thing, but I mean, I guess, obviously, I did enjoy the treasure hunting part of the book even better. Oh yeah, but I feel like I need to definitely address the fact that this cover is atrocious. Also, the title is really bad. Something Wilder, like what is that? Because you have to see her name is Lily Wilder. So this is like a reference to her name. The cover and the title are really dumb, I think, but because I heard Hayley Pham like talking about the plot, and maybe now you heard me talking about the plot in itself is worth reading the book, but who did this to this poor story? I don't know. Okay, the next book I read this month, damn, I can barely remember this book, was The Marlow Murder Club by Robert Thorogood. Cool name, by the way. Okay, so this is your maybe basic chill murder mystery. It's taking place in a small countryside town in England. We have our main protagonist, Judith, who is a retired... Wait, what was her job actually? I don't fully remember what her job used to be, but she's not retired, but still working for like a local newspaper, creating their crossword puzzles, and people start dying in the vicinity. She actually overhears her neighbor getting murdered, and so she basically picks up the case herself and starts investigating. 2 other women join her little group of investigators, and they're all quite different from one another, so the dynamics are of course fun because these different women who would have never connected in their actual like day-to-day life are suddenly now coming together to solve these matters. I liked it, it was okay, but definitely not a fave, I would say. Because I mean, I was okay with the main protagonists and all of that, but I didn't love them, I would say. And also, do I actually still remember what the matter was about and like who did it and everything? I don't know. So it was okay, but not that memorable. I will be honest with you. So that was just like a basic murder mystery I read this month. Moving on to, will you believe it, yet another romance novel. And quite similar to Something Wilder, I actually really enjoyed this. What is happening to me? Am I suddenly turning into a romance book lover? Let's not go that far, but I definitely enjoyed this book. The book I'm talking about is Float by Kate Marchant. I would say Something Wilder, it is quite an unusual romance novel because it has this very strong treasure hunting theme to it that most romance novels don't. This, on the other hand, is your basic teenage romance novel. I will give you just like a few facts about this book. You will already know the entire story. There are no surprises in this book. So we have our 17-year-old girl, and she's from Alaska, but she spends the summer with her aunt in Florida for the first time ever. She meets friends, she has fun in her life, she even meets a cute boy. But then at the end of the summer, she's supposed to go home again. Does she have to lose it all again? That's the start of the book. You know every scene that is going down in this book, right? You know exactly how it will end. So in this sense, there are absolutely no surprises in this. It is a very basic teenage romance novel, but it executed it well, I would say. I mean, even though the story was 100% predictable, I still had a good time reading it because I don't know, I just enjoyed the vibes. I guess I was okay with the main characters. I didn't find them overly annoying, though of course there's some really dumb teenage stuff going on that once you're even just like a tiny bit older than the characters, which are supposed to be 17, you already realize that all the things they're like worrying about, all the stupid teenage crap, it is so insignificant. In that sense, there maybe were some scenes that felt a bit annoying or whatever, but in general, it was definitely okay to read. I also really liked the cover. The cover actually was the thing that really inspired me to pick up this book, but also the story did not disappoint. As I just said, this is nothing new on the block. This is nothing original in that sense, but if you're looking for your basic teenage love story that happens in the summer, I could definitely recommend this one. Next up, I read, I guess, a TikTok famous novel, or like at least a novel of a TikTok famous person. Who I'm talking about is, of course, I don't know, Colleen Hoover. And which book of hers did I read? I read Reminders of Him. And the fact that I even picked up this book is almost a miracle, because reading only these 3 lines on the back: a young mother fights to earn a place in her child's life, but is there room for her? I would have never picked up this book. That sounds like, no offense, but that just sounds so boring to me. Like, reading that, I have absolutely no interest in picking up that book. Yet I still picked it up. Why? It was again like a mixture of things. It was mainly inspired by one of the YouTubers I watched. She's like a LA lifestyle YouTuber, which in the like 5, 6, 7, 8, I don't know how many years I have watched her content, I have never, I mean, no offense or like judgment or anything, but I have never seen this woman read a book. So suddenly she's now talking about Colleen Hoover books, and I saw her read this book in a couple of her videos, and I guess that fact inspired me to read it, to pick it up and like read it myself, because as I said, like in the 8 years I watched her content, I have never seen this woman read a book, but now she liked this, so I was like, okay, maybe there's something to it. Why don't I read it myself? So even though this description would have never in a billion years induced me to read this book, this YouTuber did. And also I kind of like the cover, to be honest. I feel like on the one hand, this cover is super boring because it literally only has the title on it and like there's nothing else going on. But to me, it has to do with the color composition. I really like these colors and how they work together. So yeah, it was these 2 facts, this one YouTuber and the colors of the cover, that made me pick up this book. And I have to say, I don't actually regret reading this book. Because I headed into this book expecting absolutely nothing. I actually headed into this book expecting to really not like it because I read the back of the book and was like, oh my gosh, this is gonna be awful. Or like awful in the sense that it's gonna be so boring to me because I'm not interested in these kind of stories, so to say. But I mean, I've only at this point read 2 of Colleen Hoover's books, so I can't fully speak on her as a writer, but I guess you have to give it to her, whether you like her books or not, that she has a very like easy to read and engaging writing style. She writes characters, dialogues, just like her novels in general, in a way that is very approachable, especially to well, our young generation, I guess. Makes it very easy to read and connect, let's say, to the characters. So because of the writing style, I was actually okay with the story, and the story in itself also turned out to be definitely better than I had expected, but that doesn't really say anything since I expected nothing. Or like if I expected anything, then it was like negative things of the story. So I actually did like this, but I gotta say, dudes, Colleen Hoover really gives her characters stupid names. At least I think they're stupid. Our main girl is called Kenna. Our main dude is called Ledger. And the child in question is called Diem, inspired by the phrase carpe diem. Those are stupid names. Come on, like straight up, but it was okay. I looked over that fact. I was so generous and read the book anyway, and I was actually okay. I was okay with this book. Plot-wise, this one sentence on the back of the book wraps it up quite well, I would say. So it is about Kenna. She's at this point like 27-year-old. She's just coming out of prison and returning to the scene of the crime, like to her hometown, where also this one particular thing happened that made her go to prison, basically. And in her first year in prison, she had a child that she had to give up, basically, because she was in prison. And now she's trying to like earn a place in her child's life. Doing so, she's connecting with this dude Ledger, who was also involved in everything that went down back then, but at first he doesn't know who she is, and she does, and all of that comes out and blows up and all of that. So this book is about like redemption in a sense, I guess, forgiveness and stuff like that. I don't even know. Sometimes I wonder why I make these videos, because I often struggle with summarizing plots. Yet that is the only point of making videos such as this. But I mean, so many people already have read this book that maybe you already have read it too, so I don't really even need to give you a plot summary because you already know what it's about. But so it's about that, and because of the writing style, I actually liked the story way more than I would have thought I did. So that was Reminders of Him by Colleen Hoover. I would be down to read more of her books, but as of yet, I don't have any of them written down on my TBR. If there are special books of hers that you would recommend to me, definitely let me know. I've already read Verity and now Reminders of Him, but no of the other books. Okay, moving on to a short story collection. I read Cursed Bunny by Bora Chung. This, is a horror-y, or maybe I would call it like a dark fairy tale short story collection that, if you analyze it, critiques a lot of things about modern Korean society, because our author is Korean. And wait, I will actually, I think, read you this blurb, so to say, right here, because I think it really summarized the entire agenda of the book quite well. Cursed Bunny is a genre-defying collection of short stories by Korean author Bora Chung. Blurring the lines between magical realism, horror, and science fiction, Chung uses elements of the fantastic and surreal to address the very real horrors and cruelties of patriarchy and capitalism in modern Korean society, but like society in general. That really summarizes as well. We have, what does it say? We have some magical, but also some realistic, some horror-y, some science fiction-y aspects to these different stories. And most of them, while reading them, you can definitely make the connection to the thing it is criticizing in our very real world. I enjoyed this way more than I thought, because I knew this kind of had like horror-y vibes to it, and that's not my jam at all usually, but it wasn't that bad. I wouldn't call it horror, but it had some like gory and maybe horror-y aspects to it, but personally I wasn't that affected by it. I don't even know, but it wasn't as bad as I had feared it could be. I especially like, I think there are like 8 or 9 short stories in here. They're each very short and you get through them very quickly. I think personally I liked the last short story, Best, wait, that was called Reunion, I felt it had the most impact on me, or like I think the themes it talked about were amongst the most important of all the ones it addresses over the course of this novel. So that's Cursed Bunny. I think this would be really fascinating to maybe pick up in a English, or like translated, whatever literature class, and analyze it as to the underlying themes and critiques it voices about modern society. That would be like really interesting, I think. Moving on to a book that I actually did not finish this month. The only book I DNF'd, not only this month, but the entire year, maybe even forever, no. But you know maybe that I really do not like DNFing books because it does something to me that I do not like. I don't like not finishing books because I like to finish things. I don't know. But this book I did not finish, and I'm actually not even feeling bad about not finishing it. I'm talking about Death and Croissants by Ian Moore. Okay, so this kind of similar maybe to the Marlow Murder Club is a murder mystery. It's supposed to be a kind of funny murder mystery. Our main protagonist, a somewhat middle-aged British person, is living in the French countryside. He runs an B&B, like bed and breakfast situation, and one of his guests disappears. And he kind of like starts working, especially with one of the other guests that's staying there, a woman that keeps like bossing him around. And I don't know, they're supposed to be funny, I guess, but it's actually not. I don't know. And they try to solve this. It's not even murder though, because he only disappears, and of course they suspect that there's something sinister going on and all of that. But I mean, I didn't even get to the point where we find out, is it even murder? I mean, it probably is because it's supposed to be a murder mystery. So, but I don't know. I read until, wait, right here. So I did give it a fair shot. I read about a third of the book, but heading into this book, this was described on the back of the book as a mixture of Agatha Christie and P.G. Wodehouse. And that sounded amazing to me because I both loved Agatha Christie and P.G. Wodehouse. But I mean, and I could definitely tell that this book tried to imitate maybe P.G. Wodehouse's style in how it was trying to be funny, and how it was trying to establish our main male protagonist as this man who doesn't really show any agency in himself and is only bossed around by the women in his life, kind of similar to Lord Emsworth in the Blonding series of P.G. Wodehouse. But I don't know, it didn't work. It didn't work for me in this particular book. I didn't really like any of the characters. Again, I didn't really like their dynamic. I thought that the things that were obviously meant to be funny, I didn't think they were funny. I was also not interested in the mystery yet, because even a third into the book, nothing had like happened yet that made me want to definitely continue the story. So because of all of that, I decided to not continue reading this book. No offense to the author or anything like that, but it just didn't click with me. So I let it go. After that, I picked up another, you could say, short story, one by Kazuo Ishiguro, Come Rain or Come Shine. This was published in the Faber Stories mini short story collection book thingy. I don't know. I saw this in Waterstones in Gower Street in London. They had an entire shelf full of, well, the Faber Stories versions of these mini booklets, but like also other publishing companies coming out with like tiny little booklets like this that only contain like one short story. And as I'm right now pretty much in the process of reading all of Ishiguro's works, I decided to pick this up as well. This short story actually was kind of funny though. I mean, I feel like Ishiguro's work never has the intention of like actually wanting to make the reader laugh out loud, but what is going on in his book is still very funny and kind of grotesque, and so it was laugh out loud funny maybe in times. So basically this is about I forgot all these people's names, but so we have these three college friends. Now they're already like in their mid-50s or something like that. We have our like single man living alone, and the other two are now a married couple. They invite him, like the single dude, to come over to their flat in London. They do this apparently every year. They reunite and spend some time with each other. And so he visits them as he does every year, but they are not on good terms right now. This married couple, they're fighting. It's pretty awkward. And so basically the husband of the couple asks his former college friend to try to appease his wife while he is himself away. And he wants him to do that by being his like usual failed loser self and make the husband look good in comparison, so to say. So it's really funny in the sense that these two people, like the husband and the wife, even though this other person is supposed to be their friend, they are constantly bashing on him, like telling him how much of a failure he is, how he has never accomplished anything in his life. And then his friend is even like asking him to, yeah, just be your loser self. I will look good in comparison. So that setup, of course, is so grotesque. But like our single dude, like he kind of plays along. He just goes with it, and he's not even mad about them calling him out like that, or like calling him all these things. I don't know, that's kind of like the setup of the story. And then we witness him spending some days, or is it only written over the course of one day maybe, I'm not even sure anymore, with the wife, doing all kinds of things to actually be really nice and try and help out his friends. Yeah, I don't know, that's the setup. I mean, it's only a short story, so if that sounds good to you, obviously go and read it. It doesn't take a long time. It was grotesque in its setup, but grotesquely funny, so I don't know, I had a good time reading it. Other than that, I reread one of my Agatha Christie novels. I reread The ABC Murders. I think I have received some comments of people asking me to do one of my trying to solve Agatha Christie murder mysteries on this book, but as I had already read it before and now I have just like recently reread it, obviously I can't make a video on it trying to solve it because I know what the solution is. Though, rereading it right now, I didn't remember the solution anymore. Only like in the last scene where Poirot is revealing the solution anyway, it dawned on me again that, yeah, wait, I think that person actually did it. So The ABC Murders, it's quite a unique book out of Agatha Christie's collection, because we head into this book knowing who the murderer is, so to say. We read chapters being written out of different people's perspectives. So we have Hastings, Poirot's trusty sidekick, narrating the story out of, well, Poirot's and the police's perspective, but we also get chapters that are written out of the perspective of the murderer. So we, from right from the beginning, we know who the murderer is, right? And the suspense is created by, even though we know who it is, we witness like a Poirot and the police inching their way forward, trying to figure out who the killer is, whose identity we know all along. And so that's where the suspense in the novel lies, rooting for the police and Poirot to finally capture who we know the killer is all along. Or don't we? That's all I can say, because that in itself is actually already kind of a spoiler, so I can't say anymore. In that setup, us knowing who the murderer is from the very beginning, it is quite unique amongst Agatha Christie's novels. I mean, I still haven't read all of her novels because she has just published so many, but at least amongst the ones I have read, there's no other book that has a setup like that. So there you go. And now, last but not least, I will be talking about 4 books at once because they are all part of the same series, and they're also the reason why this video was probably published a bit later than usual, because I filmed an entire video dedicated to at least the first 2 parts of the series, and I want to like upload it before this video, because if I upload this video before, it will already spoil the fact that I'm rereading the series right now. The series that I'm talking about is, you can not really tell, oh yeah, maybe by the bottom book, I am currently rereading Harry Potter, and I did upload this video about the first 2 parts, and I compared them to their movie adaptations to figure out which parts are the same, which parts are different. I had a good time making that video. If you're into Harry Potter, maybe you will enjoy it. Feel free to check it out. So I read the first part, of course, Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone. The second part, Harry Potter and the Chambers of Secrets. I have these in these beautifully illustrated Mina Lima editions, but only the first 2 parts of the series have been made up by them in these beautifully illustrated editions with like pop-ups and all of that. No other parts in the series have yet been turned into books like that. So from that point onward, I had to read the normal basic book, can you believe it? And I've already finished The Prisoner of Azkaban, so the 3rd part, and only yesterday night I have started reading The Goblet of Fire. You see, this book is fucking thick, and I've barely only scratched the surface, and as today is the 30th, I will obviously read the majority of The Goblet of Fire in July. But yeah, I'm rereading Harry Potter for the first time in over a decade, and I'm having a really good time with it, not gonna lie. So those, I always do this actually at the end of my videos, that I try to gather all the books that I have read that month in my arms, but it's so many this month. Oh my god. Okay, so these, oh, you can't even see all of them, were all the books I read, or like with The Goblet of Fire, I started reading it in June. I hope you found something amongst them, something that you are now interested in picking up yourself. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'm gonna see you next time. Bye!